Here. Do you want me to tie?
Do I own a tie?
Okay. I'd like to call the January 16th, 2018 Finance Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Here.
Councilman Palunas?
Here.
Councilman Zellin?
Here.
Okay, we're going to need the approval of the minutes, approval of the budget hearing of November 13th, 2017. I'll go ahead and approve that. Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay. Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't on the committee then.
Okay. And Councilman Zellin?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'm going to need the other minutes that we have here, and this is from our regular meeting of December 18th, 2017. Can I get a motion for?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
Yes.
Councilman Zellin?
Yes.
Okay, and I see we're still waiting on the November 20th budget hearing minutes. Okay, on to items requiring legislation. Item number 1, authorizing an amendment to an agreement with Active Networks LLC, formerly Maximum Solutions LLC, for a community life program registration system. Jim, are you here to speak with us about that? Okay.
Yes, exactly. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This is actually just to amend the original legislation from 2017. As I have in my memo, the original contract included on-site travel costs that apply, and now that we've received those invoices, the finance director recommended that we amend the legislation to include the exact amount of those invoices. So that's all this really is, well, at least from the IT perspective, is that amendment for 162364. And then I guess since Mr. Director Holub isn't here, I can speak a little bit to his aspect of this. We had originally looked at 20 licenses for the software. As we're now in the meat of the process, it's implemented, we have an idea of how it's all going to play out. Once we hit the summer months, we're going to exceed that 20 licenses by quite a few. So we are requesting that we up that. The next tier available from Max Solutions, aka Active Networks, is 50. So that's that request at an additional $300 a month or $3,600 annually. So again, to increase us to 50 available licenses, which will give us more than enough to continue business during, again, those high summer months.
Any questions? Mr. Palunas?
I don't have a problem with the reimbursement of the invoices. I do have some questions about the 5 seasonal application uses and why we can't, and I don't know if you can answer this or not. We have 3 for the outdoor pool, 1 for the Arthur Road pool, 1 for the concession stand, and 4 for the recreation front desk. 5 of those are seasonal in use, and then you have 1 for the concession stand. Why can't we just take a couple out from the recreation front desk, 1 out from there, and maybe 1 out from the art center front desk where they don't have many people coming in during the day, and just keep I don't really think we need 3 for the outdoor pool if we have 4 for the full-time indoor part. I have some questions on whether this is a good thing to do or not.
Well, the parts I can speak, the art center, I would have to defer to the rec department and arts to tell you what the volume there at that front desk is. What I can tell you when it comes to the rec front desks at the community center, we have a check-in location that needs its own login for the fingerprint and the card scanning. That has its own. And then you have 3 other terminals there that all have, that at any one point have people working at them. Now, since I've been here, those terminals have been in place, and they seem to be in use, especially at busier times. But again, I guess to for more detail on that, I guess we would have to, again, defer to the rec department. As far as the outdoor pool goes, we need 1 for concession, 1 for the register that they're going to be paying for passes, and again, another 1 for check-in. So the 3 at the outdoor pool is necessary. It's not something that I see that we would be able to eliminate at this time.
Is there any room to couple these out? Because we have 5 to 7 staff at the Center for the Arts that may be using the program at one time. I just don't see that happening. So I think we probably could save $3,600 a year by just limiting the amount of people who are logged on to the Max Galaxy system.
Well, it's on the edge. I thought 20 is going to be right there. I think, obviously, as we've shown, there's 15. You got your back programmers that are resetting passwords constantly, people constantly doing the programming, taking calls. I think you're going to be on the edge. And while I can see your point that we could err on the side of being very conservative in the costs, at least from an IT perspective, I have to encourage electronic usage. You know what I mean?
But we can change this at any time, correct?
Well, it is a software as a service agreement. I don't know how flexible they can be as far as whether or not we can bring on an extra 30 licenses just during our high time and then give them back, if that's what you're asking.
If we could maybe just approve the 16, 23, 64 tonight, and then hold the $300, hold the $300 per month. It's not a lot of money. I just want to have some answers on that, and hold that till next meeting. Maybe Mr. Hollop can come next meeting, or we can have a special meeting before the next council meeting.
Okay. I was just going to say maybe we could have Kim, if you could maybe contact Mr. Hollop, and Jim, when do you need to let these folks know that we were?
I don't think this is.
Like you say,
I appreciate the 1623 is invoices that we have currently.
It doesn't really.
The additional licensing, though, is not of an immediate need.
Okay.
That's going to be a seasonal peak. So I think we would have some time on there to look into it further.
Yeah, and Jim, I think if you could look into to see if we can tailor it in for have 6 months at the 20 license and maybe 5 months or 6 months at the 50 license.
I'll ask
Get
the
that
question.
answer,
Sure.
If we could tailor that out.
Mhm.
Maybe a different pricing structure. I understand that. And then also question and I don't know if you know this, when you guys were scoping out the system, was there a user analysis done on where the different terminals will be and at the time of the original contract?
We did, and I knew as Councilman Palunas had kind of looked at, I saw it as, that if we could be a little frugal with our back office usage, that we would come in under the 20, but I also thought that we would be close. So it's right there on the edge, and unfortunately, Active/Max didn't have any other tier other than to double it by 150%, unfortunately. It couldn't get us to 30 users or something of that nature, which, I think would have given us the flexibility at maybe a lower cost. But that's the tiering that they have. I can push them again, and again, as you had stated, talk it over with the rec department and see, what more of their justification is.
So, Jim, do you want us to, because on the back page it's about the travel expenses.
Those are expensive. We've already incurred, and the invoices are here, so I would appreciate if we could move that along, and then, but leave it, if we have to, we can delay the other piece.
But what we'll have to do then is notify Carol that we didn't approve the one part, so that we can do it as read at the council meeting, because otherwise the whole thing will get passed.
Sure. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so can I get a motion on the travel expense?
Move to amend the legislation to include payment of $1,623.64 for travel expenses incurred by Active Network Trainer for 1 week of training, and forward to council.
Second?
Motion and second, and roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
Yes.
Councilman Zelwin?
Yes.
Okay, item number 2, accepting a proposal from the Local Government Services section of the Auditor of State for professional service assistance with preparation of basic financial statements and comprehensive annual reports. Matt.
What you have with the memo is the engagement letter or engagement agreement with the Auditor of State. They have a separate segment of the Auditor of State called Local Government Services section, and they have in the years past done one piece of our financial audit, and that piece is preparation of our financial statements on a GAAP basis, so an accrual basis. They also help us compile and complete our comprehensive annual financial report. And starting with the 2017 report, we're also going to be preparing a popular annual financial report, which is a smaller, more easily readable version of the CAFR that's both for internal and public consumption. So we had the last 3-year agreement with LGS, Local Government Services, covered through the 2016 financial reporting period. There, we're looking to renew our agreement with them at the same hourly rate of $50. Approximately 306 hours. So on an annual basis, not to exceed 15,300, but looking back at the past 3 years, they generally utilize about 80% of their hours. So I imagine this will come in around 13,000 per year. Did look at, had a proposal from one other firm and also looked at the firm that does our actual audit, and we're looking at least 20,000 if we do an outside firm. So in a sense, what you have is it's an intergovernmental agreement with this segment of the auditor states who work on that important piece. So part of the audit process is we prepare these financial statements. We have to file per revised code by May 30th of the year, GAAP basis statements, and the whole audit process continues starting in February through really the end of June with the final audit. And that is, again, that's a separate firm that's doing the actual audit. It's a firm, local firm, Zupkin Associates, does the financial audit itself. LGS is only doing the preparation of the statements. You know, they lay out in pretty decent detail in the agreement what they're responsible for and what the city is responsible for. And to make it clear, it's not the audit, it's the preparation of the statements. The audit is a separate engagement. The audit engagement itself actually has 2 more years left on it. So we'll be coming to committee in a few years for a new engagement, possibly. But the auditor state handles the RP process for the actual audit engagement. For this piece, you're on your own. You either do an RFP, get estimates. The cities that are fortunate enough to be able to work with LGS, because they do a full book of business each year, it's hard to get on board if you're not on board yet, and the rate is very good. It's basically impossible to beat if you're looking at independent accounting firms to do the work. So we're looking for approval of the agreements, 3-year agreement, 17, 18, 19.
So Matt, this is basically the same rate that we've had.
It is the same rate.
Okay.
The only addition is the additional of the PAF, or the popular financial reports. That's one additional item we've added.
Any questions? Scott?
Matt, I don't have any issues with this because we've used this in the past and everything else. I think the rate's very good. The only question I have for you is just for our due diligence. Based on your research, you stated a similar engagement with a private accounting firm would cost about $20,000 a year. And how did you come up with?
I got a formal proposal from one firm, and then looked at the hourly rates of the firm we work with for the audit and some other firms. Talked to some of our peer cities, but I actually had one firm proposal that was a minimum of that amount, and probably escalate in future years if they were willing to commit to a 3-year agreement. So it made me feel comfortable we're making the right choice, sticking with the auditor state to do the financial statement preparation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
And then just want to clarify the comment you made that their LGS is sold out from a book of business. So if we were not to use them, someone else would snag our spot.
Probably.
We may not.
I speak from experience just because my previous job, we were looking at gap conversion, CAFR preparation services, and we did reach out in that point in time a few years ago to LGS, and they were booked. They couldn't add additional public sector clients. I'm assuming that's the same case.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they have very much capacity to take on additional local governments, but I'd say if we can stay locked in, we should.
Yep.
And they're very familiar with the city. We know that the associates that come in we're familiar with. They understand our financial regimen, or reporting regimen rather. So it makes for a smooth transition from year to year. And that all important handoff of the statements to the audit firm in particular it's beneficial.
I agree.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll move to adopt legislation accepting a proposal for the Auditor of State Local Government Services for preparation of basic financial statements and comprehensive financial reports.
Second.
And we have to do it under emergency.
Under emergency,
Yes, please.
excuse
Thank
me.
It's fine.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
Yes.
Councilman Zelwin?
Yes.
Okay, item number 3, authorizing the Director of Finance to utilize internet auction services to dispose of various city property no longer of municipal use during fiscal year 2018. Matt?
And as you're familiar, we have to bring any property sale that's 1,000 or more to council. This is actually a required blanket notification. The city should be adopting a resolution stating our intent to use internet auction services on an annual basis. So this takes care of one of the provisions in revised code 72115. So council adopts this resolution, we advertise it for 2 weeks in the newspaper, and then we post it in a conspicuous place like the website. It's something we should be doing every year. We have not in years past, but really to comply with the letter of the law related to internet auction, it's, I think, prudent that we adopt this resolution, or council adopts this resolution, and move forward like this each year.
Okay, any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we adopt a resolution expressing the city's intent to dispose of property via internet auction through GovDeals or GovPlanet as required by the Ohio Revised Code, Section 72115, on an emergency basis for the specific reason that we are constantly and have the need to immediately dispose of property.
Works.
Second.
I already said it.
You did. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. That was a reason for the emergency.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
Yes.
Councilman Zeller?
Yes.
You did in the beginning. You did it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, item number 4, approving an amendment to the Solon Codified Ordinances by enacting section 260.055 of the City Administrative Code. Mr. Dursick.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As I set forth in my memo, the purpose of providing this on-call pay is for service department employees to, this purpose of providing this on-call pay to service department employees is to provide the City of Solon with necessary resources and manpower needed to respond quickly and efficiently to emergency call-in events during winter months when weekend shifts, or what we call platoons, are active. This is 17 weeks starting around Thanksgiving. The service department staff shall be available to respond to call-in requests and receive on-call pay for the hours they're responsible for working. So the on-call pay would begin at the start of their assigned platoon, and then they would, as soon as they would punch in, that on-call pay would stop. So just to give you an example of how we work our weekend overtime, if I could have the document camera, please. So this is the shift for our upcoming weekend for Saturday and Sunday. So starting Friday night at midnight, these group of employees are on, and then starting at noon on Saturday to midnight Sunday, this group is on, and then this group from midnight Saturday to noon Sunday and noon Sunday to midnight. And some people work 2 platoons or shifts, and some people just opt for 1. And the goal here is, since these individual employees are sitting at home or have to be on standby and ready to work status, that they get compensated for their on-call status. So each plow-eligible employee is assigned to a 12-hour shift on the weekend during the winter months, starting at midnight, like I explained. While the employees are on call, they would receive a $3 an hour standby pay. Okay, when the employee gets the phone call, we give them an hour show-up time. When they punch in, the on-call pay would stop, and their hour and a half or time and a half pay for overtime would kick in. So the $3 an hour would go away, and then their regular pay would start. I did survey 8 local cities, and I also called Dublin, and when I called Dublin, they gave me several other cities. So from the 8 local cities that I surveyed, 3 out of the 8 cities pay some version of on-call pay. In Strongsville, they do pay on-call pay, but it's for their water department. They don't pay it for their snow plowing, and they call it pager pay. So if you add the 8 cities that I called and then the cities from Columbus, 11 out of the 23 cities pay a version of on-call pay, which is roughly 47%. They usually do it in 2 different ways. Either they pay by the hour or they pay by the week. The research that I did, the average hourly rate for on-call pay is $4.17 an hour, and the weekly rate is $81.67. But if you break that $81.67 down, on-call for off hours or non-scheduled hours during the week, which would be 16, and then your weekend hours, which would be a 12-hour shift, it would work out to about 89 cents an hour. And I do have all the information from these other cities, but I can entertain any questions that the committee has at this time.
Any questions? You know, Bill, and Bill and I did talk, went down and talked to Bill about this. The one question I have is, you know, we talk about 17 weeks, you know, the winter months. And say the last couple of years where we've had really, really mild winters. Do you still have those sheets of, I mean, I know weather can be very unpredictable.
No, because actually this year, as a rule of thumb, we start the weekend after Thanksgiving, but this year, and I believe even last year, we actually started 2 weeks after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So that money, you know, wouldn't be spent there. Or if we decide if we have a mild winter and we cut the platoon short, then, you know, that money would still stay in the budget. It would not be spent.
And this was, just so everybody knows, this was part of the 2018 budget, this line.
Correct. The dollar amounts for this, when Matt and I worked on the budget, were included in the 2018 budget, when we did reopen the snow overtime
Right.
line item for this.
Okay. Jeremy, you have a question?
I was going to ask the same question you asked about the budget.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that council, that legislation be forwarded to council to approve an ordinance enacting section 260.055 for service department overtime on-call pay provision on first reading as an emergency order to utilize compensation for the current ice and snow season.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas? Councilman Zelen?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
item
you.
number 5, approving various amendments to the Solon Codified Ordinances, Chapter 891, Municipal Income Tax pursuant to changes enacted to the Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 718. Matt?
Take a step back. A few years ago, the state passed what is known as HB 5, and that was really a comprehensive overhaul of the municipal income tax code for the state of Ohio. And a major provision, or a significant provision of that update in HB 5 was a requirement that all local municipal income tax ordinances comply with the corresponding revised code chapter, which is Chapter 718. So you'll see Chapter 718 is mentioned in my memo. Take a step forward. The state completed its biennial budget process at the end of June of this past year. So the 2-year state budget went into effect July 1st. And that state budget, HB 49, included some updates to the Chapter 718 income tax provision. And there was also some changes within that HB 49 legislation, some updates and housekeeping to the municipal income tax code. So we are required, any local government that has a municipal income tax is required to enact these changes to the municipal income tax code by January 31st of this year. So that's the first reason we're here. There were some changes that were mandated by the state legislature in HB 49, the current state budget. And they commonly use the state biennial budget process as a way to maybe get under the hood and look at some various policy areas. It's not just the state budget, but they look at policy areas such as municipal income tax, which they did. So they had a list of things that they knew they'd have to go back in and either make some revisions or do some housekeeping. So they used the state budget process to that advantage to make those changes. So what you're seeing that we're presenting to council for approval tonight are those changes carried into our codified ordinance, which is Chapter 891. And I'll briefly run through these. I won't spend a lot of time unless you want me to. I can spend as much time as you need me to on the changes, but let me give you a briefing. Here are the sections that have changes by and large. Section 2, which is the definition section. And you'll see all the strikeouts and add-ins, but the definitions, it's actually fairly lengthy, and there's actually a good amount of policy or description embedded in that definition section. So there was a need to clean up some definitions related to adjusted federal taxable income, so you'll see that change. Municipal taxable income, there's a minor change. And then there's some additional language related to net profit for individuals and the treatment of what's known as a net operating loss carry forward. So that's all, we're bringing that language that was enacted as part of the state budget into our local income tax ordinance. Section 5, which deals with annual return filing, We had to make some adjustments to some of the sections related to the annual net profit return due date. It's due April 15th of this year. And these are some things that tax preparers have brought to the attention of the state once that original HB 5 was approved. So basically, they're adding some consistency in some of the filing dates. And they did some things with notice of non-filing or notice of no need to file. They've added some additional language and also a basic tweak to language related to the timing of electronic payments. Section 7, estimated taxes. What you saw here was an alignment of the due dates and the amount due, mainly 90% for individuals. 90% of the estimated liability for tax year is due by the following January 15th. So it's basically if you're filing estimated taxes as an individual, you have to have paid up to 90% of that estimate by January of the following year. And they also made a tweak to the due date for net profit filings. Those are due by, it'd be non-individuals, which are net profit filers, due by, 90% due by December 15th of the tax year, so a little bit different.
Instead of January 15th?
Correct.
Okay, how are we gonna notify people of that?
Rita will handle any notification for us because the template for the legislative changes came for Rita, so they will handle the notification and the tracking of how these changes are being implemented on our behalf. And there's actually they have an annual income tax policy seminar at the end of January, so I'll be attending that in a couple weeks, and they'll have some additional updates and brief us on how they're going to notify member community taxpayers on our behalf. So I can brief the committee in February if you'd be interested to see how things are looking. Finally, Section 18, dealing with interest and penalties. This was a cleanup. The penalty is, they changed the wording to not to exceed 50% of late payments, so cities could choose to have something less than 50%, not exactly 50%. So those are the changes. There are a few minor tweaks here and there, but these are the actual, I guess, material changes to the code that we have to carry forward and adopt by January 31st.
Okay, any questions? I will entertain the motion then.
I'll move to approve the various amendments to the Solon codified ordinances regarding the section 891 municipal income tax pursuant to changes for the Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 718, and on an emergency basis in order to remain compliant with the state of Ohio.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
Yes.
Councilman Zelwin?
Yes.
Okay, item number 6, approving cash transfers from the general fund and other funds to various operating and capital funds. A being Budget Stabilization Fund, B, Economic Incentive Fund, C, Home Days Festival Fund, D, Safety and Service Capital Fund, E, Facility Repair and Maintenance, F, Capital Improvement Fund, G, Sick Leave Reserve Fund, H, from Sewer Operating Fund 511 to Sewer Plant Fund 512. Matt?
So this is the second approval we need to do interfund transfers. The first was we appropriated money in the general fund and also in the Water Reclamation Operating Fund to transfer to various funds. So that budget was approved. That was part of the presentation as well that I provided to council on November 13th. The second requirement in state budgetary law is that we need an actual approval from council to do the actual interfund transfers. Most of these are from the general fund to other funds that are listed in figure or Exhibit A of the memo. We're also moving funding, about $4.3 million, from the Water Reclamation Operating Fund to the Plant Improvement Fund to fund the second year of the preliminary treatment project. So we're doing this in 2 steps. We did the first step in 2017. The second transfer of funding for that project is in January of this year. So again, these are in the budget. We need this approval to do that actual transfer, and we would be seeking emergency approval because it's a budgetary item as well.
Any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposed fund transfers on an emergency basis, the various operating funds and capital funds for the 2018 budget.
Second?
Okay, a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
Yes.
Councilman Zelwin?
Yes.
Okay, item number seven, authorizing the payments of amounts due for which the finance director has issued then and now certificates. Matt?
Monthly approval, we only have one payment that was in excess of $3,000 for approval.
Okay, any questions? Hello? Any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll move to adopt legislation forward to council approving then and now certificates presented and authorized as an emergency measure for the reason that the payments need to be approved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
Yes.
Councilman Zelwin?
Yes.
Okay, now we're reports to the committee. The monthly financial report from December 2017. I know this is just preliminary. Any comments that you want to make to the committee, Matt, on this?
Yeah, preliminary, we're closing out this week, closing out fiscal 17. We're probably 99% done. We have to do a few more things, but the numbers you see are by and large what you'll see in the year-end results report that I'll be providing to the committee next month. A few highlights, if you'd like, for the general fund. Revenue, we finished at 42.6 million general fund, so about 1.4% over the budget estimate of 42 million. Income tax was the strong performer, 1.5% over budget, but about 5.5% year-over-year growth in income tax. So we're continuing to see, especially in withholding and net profit filing, good numbers when it comes to income tax. Operating and total expenditures, we came in at 41.6 million. That includes encumbrances in that number. We had budgeted 45 million, so about 7.8% under budget. Now, mind you, we're changing the way we budget for healthcare in 18, so we're not going to see as large a variance in an operating expenditure result for 2018. So keep that in mind. Things look a little tighter, but that was the intent, to bring that budget for 18 closer to expectations. Net results, if we look at total operating revenue in versus total expenditures, we finished with a slight operating surplus of $926,000. That number may change a tiny bit as we wrap up closing out 17. Now, mind you, we did approach council and get approval to transfer $2.2 million from the general fund to pre-fund capital and some other things. So if you take that 2.2, if we had done nothing, plus the 9, we're well over $3 million in operating result for 2017. Finished the year with about 1.1 million in carryover obligations. So we have purchase orders that are related to contracts. We also have various invoices pending from 17 that have not been paid yet. So we do carry over obligations as part of the 2018 budget until those orders are extinguished. Ending balance in the general fund, we ended with 17.5 million unencumbered balance in the general fund, 42% to expenditures, which is well over our 20 to 25% policy. If we include the stabilization fund, Fund 101, because they're both general fund, total combined balance of 24.5 million, 59% to balance to expenditure, which is exceedingly rare to have a 50% plus balance to expenditure ratio. So that's a good thing. It's something we need to keep aside. We know economic pressures and unexpected events could require us to tap into that reserve, but we're in good financial shape to weather a variety of issues and challenges if it happens. I'll go into more detail next month when I do the year in review on a budgetary basis, but those are some high-level numbers for general fund, just to give you an idea where we're at.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I guess, my only, just kind of skimming through this, Matt, is, I'm just happy to see of what, the estimated revenue. All of these really came in really pretty close. I mean, there was none that, there was a big, like you expected this much to come in. And,
Sure, bless you.
okay, so that was my only comment on that. But again, thank you for the report.
Welcome.
Okay, so then we have the quarterly investment report. This is the fourth quarter, obviously, of 2017. Matt?
This should be the last report with this format. We did engage with an investment advisor. We're going to be changing the reporting and giving the committee and council some additional information, not just our holdings and the rates, but looking at a lot of other factors that deal with portfolio direction and strategy. So this gives you an idea of a snapshot as of December 31. One thing to note, we had over $6 million in cash. That amount's going to be shrinking as we fine-tune our strategy. We're going to move more money into things that are cash equivalent but earn a higher rate than the cash accounts of the brokers or the bank. So you'll see a lot of changes. Rates, short-term rates, which were a fixed income portfolio. So we were seeing short-term rates are increasing as the Fed pushes rates up, which is a good thing on the investment side. So we're gonna take advantage of our expectation of rates going into 2018, and we should see, I think, a fair amount of improvement in the yield on the portfolio. Again, our first two most important factors are preservation of principal and making sure we have liquidity. But I think we'll be able to see some, I think, fairly interesting gains on the yield side as well.
Great. Any questions on this? Okay, and then we have the quarterly healthcare expenditure summary, fourth quarter of 2017. Matt?
It's a two-page report. The first page shows you claims by month by expenditure category. Second page is a summary and a year-over-year comparison. I guess the top line number would be about a 2.2% decrease in total claims and administrative costs when you compare 16 to 17. It's really, a lot of that's dependent on, one is plan structure, but also the population we're insuring. And right now we've seen relative stability as far as claims paid. We do track a lot of the higher claim cases, but things for the past 2 years have been fairly stable. Again, this report will look the same going to 18, but the way we've budgeted for and we will be tracking healthcare, we'll probably throw in some additional information for the committee moving forward in 2018, so you can see how that changed in the way we budget and account for our self-insured program looks.
Any questions? I mean, I think I just want to make a comment. I just think this is, I mean, I've been on the finance committee since I started on council, and, you know, it was always something we had to do. We're self-insured, but to actually see these numbers, I think is just very helpful. I think now that we're going to have its own separate account, I think it'll just be, you know, just so much more. It was always kind of this obscure number that we knew we had to do, but like I say, I just, I think this is really a good thing, and again, thank you, Matt, for this. Okay, so now we're on to discussions. So the 2018 Finance Committee, this is the tentative schedule of committee business. Matt?
I wanted to give the committee members an idea of some of the approval items and presentations that will be going through the agenda this year. Some of these dates are fairly certain, some of them are estimates, but to give you an idea of some of the committee work, there will be other items, of course, but these are the things we know we either do on a regular basis at certain points in the year, whether we're requesting action from the committee and council, or it's a presentation or required report that's due to the committee. I want to at least get to provide a roadmap or picture of what the year looks like. We're also getting items from the related departments as well, and there'll be items within the correspondence and reports to the committee that don't show up here necessarily. I think more or less to give everyone an idea what the rhythm of the normal agenda year looks like.
Great. Okay, and then updates to the committee. That's just basically it.
Just a few things. I'll be brief. I think we'd mentioned back in December, the city of Solon is joining the Ohio Treasurer's Open Checkbook site. We have a test site built. I'm going to need about another week or two to review the data and see what it looks like and suggest changes to the Treasurer's office. So I'm hoping by February's committee meeting we could have a demo of the site right before it gets published. I'll keep the committee updated, but it will have prior year unaudited actuals on the system. We'll have at least 3 years of data, and then we'll try to update it on a quarterly basis. And if you've ever looked at the website, they use a product called OpenGov. It's a way to see City of Solon or any other local government that participates in the program. It gives you a higher level graphical based look at how dollars are being spent. It's expenditure only. The version that the treasurer has offered for free is just that. It's called Checkbook for a reason. The assumption is the public is interested in how tax dollars are being spent by category, by department, by program. So that's what it provides. You can also drill into the data all the way down to the individual vendor and dates and things like that. So there's some good stuff on that shared platform, and I hope to have a presentation in February so we can see what it looks like.
Great. Okay, sounds good. Okay, any else? Okay, so just a reminder, I think for everyone, our next meeting will be February 20th. We will be off. City Hall will be closed on the 19th, that Monday. So we'll look forward to, and then Kim, if you could just let Mr. Holub know to please be here for that meeting, I would appreciate it. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Palunas?
Yes.
Councilman Zellin?
Yes.